So step one is going to be the stripping stage, and as I said in the introduction, this is going to be stripped down to the frame, although some pieces need to be stripped down to the frame. This is just a reupholstering, meaning we're taking the old fabric off, sprucing up the cotton, and then reapplying new fabric. So let's get going in a careful way. We're going to start stripping this piece of furniture. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the tools first that you're going to need. Your good pair of scissors, your tack remover or staple remover, it does both, a pair of side cutters, and a mallet. Okay, now, and also a magic marker. What I want you to do is mark your skirt front. Put front to indicate skirt front, because we're going to take the entire skirt off. That's the first thing we're going to do. Okay? What we're going to do is remove the cushion, because the cushion's the last thing that we do. So I'm going to remove the cushion now, put it aside. We'll get to that later. Okay, now let's look to see how they've got the skirt. I'm going to lift the skirt up and take a look. Actually, this is very well done. They've got the liner attached here, and then the liner coming down to the bottom of the piece. Okay, what we're going to do is a little differently. You'll see, we're going to upholster all the way down with the fabric and then apply the skirt. So some manufacturers do it differently, so it doesn't matter. We need to take this off. You know, you don't have to be exceptionally careful with this because you know, we're replacing the fabric. But let's just see how it takes a little bit of this downward pressure with our tack remover, with the mallet. We're moving it down. I'm going to try to find an easy way of taking this off. So I'm using the leverage of the tool to try to get this off. And then, if we get enough of it, we're going to take our side cutters, okay? And we're going to try to pull it. Yeah, this is pulling off nicely. So I just want to show you that the entire skirt's going to be taken off like this. So what we're going to do is, what you're going to have to do actually too is just cut this bottom piece. Once you get it released a little bit, just cut the bottom piece like so. Just for now, we're going to continue taking that piece off later. But I'm just going to cut this way. Okay, then we're going to take the entire skirt off. Okay, so I've removed the entire skirt, and it's a good idea to keep the skirt because I haven't measured anything yet. We're going to keep the skirt because they want the same drop. And also there's a nice liner in here that we may or may not use again. Sometimes I like to reuse liners because it's perfectly cut, especially with Baker. And the customer appreciates that too, using most of the original or as much of the original material as you can within reason. So I'm going to keep the skirt for later. That's going to be for our cutting process. I'm just going to fold it up and I'm going to put it aside with the cushion that I have on the table over here. And so what we're going to do next after this is we're going to start the outside. Okay, so now Baker on this sofa, on this little settee, has given us an entire back that's all one piece, although they've sewn it. It's actually 3 pieces sewn, which becomes 1 piece. So we want to take this outside back off in 1 piece, okay? So, oh, I just noticed another stitch down here. So it's actually 2 stitches, so it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 panels, which I may not copy that exactly. I just don't know what the necessity of having that extra seam. The reason there are seams at all over here is to get the fabric to wrap in a way that makes it tight, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to that point. But it's like a little, you know, you cut out a little teepee shape, triangle shape over here just to get it tight. We'll show you that when we get to it. Right now we're stripping, so what I'm going to do is try to open this ply grip. I'm sure holding this on, and ply grip is that metal material that you've seen with the prongs in it that helps close up outside. The nice thing about this ply grip is that once you get it going, you should be able to rip it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my side cutters and I'm rolling it. I'm trying to get it started to get a grip on it. I've got a grip on it, so I'm going to pull. You know, ideally you'd like to pull the fabric out first if you can. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and then we'll go back to get the ply grip. If it works, now the silk's kind of holding it holding it on there, so I think I might elect to. Every fabric is different, right? Let's try to pull the ply grip. Let's see which is easier. Definitely easier doing the ply grips with the fabric, so we're going to do that. Okay, so we're going to go all the way around, and so I'm going to go all the way around at this point, all the way down to the outsides, and we're going to take this off in one piece. Okay, so what I'm doing is I carefully removed the nice batting that was on there. It's really fresh smelling and it fits really perfect. I may or may not use that. I'm going to save it for now. I'm going to put it aside. Okay, so our next step would be to take the outside back completely off. So what I'm going to do is, look how easy that comes off. Sometimes I even use my foot to really get a hold of it. So what we're going to do is take the outside back and place that aside for now. Notice how I haven't even turned the piece over yet. I'm counting on leverage, maybe to take some of those staples out that are on the bottom, but we'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to put my outside back aside, okay? And then now we're left with the remaining staples from the ply grip, which I would do first. I would tackle that first all the way around, and then I would tackle the piping that's here. Usually the piping will come off. I just cut the piping there. It should come off easy, which it does, as long as you pull it the right proper way. Careful when you're doing that. Sometimes I've punched myself in the stomach or the nose when I'm pulling like this, so I get used to getting your body out of your way when you're putting the torque on the side cutters. So now you're left with the staples from the welting or the piping. All right, you take those out. Now, isn't this better than taking in each individual staple? 1, 2, lift, 1, 2, lift, 1, 2, lift. That would take forever. And I'm not saying you can do this on every single fabric. Some fabrics you do have to do one staple at a time. That really extends your labor hours, I can tell you that. But so far we're making good work out of this. So we'll go on to the next step. But this is really well done. It's a baker, like I said. So we expect this on a baker. But we want to try to keep as much of it as we can. But we still have to measure too. So we have to disassemble it to a certain point and then reupholster it. But we're doing as minimum as possible here. Okay, but one thing that has to happen, because our cover has to pull through from the inside, is that this bottom piece has to come. Try to take it out carefully. Now the staples that are in here, they are so embedded in there. I think they use smaller staples that they're not going to come out unless you take your tack hammer and start digging up the wood. I don't advise that. So the material that they use, this light muslin, will pull very easily around the staple. So leave the staple. It's better to leave the staple in this case than to go digging at it. You don't have to remove every single staple, nor do you want to. Okay, so I'm going to undo this. It's going to come out easy. I just want to show you. We're going to lift this up. It's part of the stripping process. I think what I can do is fold this up out of the way like so. Actually, because it has buttons now, we're not going to be able to do that. We have to take the whole thing off. So I'm going to rip this whole thing off. But look how easy it comes off. Really, the whole thing came off. I love that when that happens. So I'm going to put this aside with the cotton that we took off. And then I love the cotton that they use. So I'm going to save that too and put it over here. Now you start seeing the zigzag springs that they use for the back. You've heard me talk about zigzag springs a little bit. I don't like them on seats. My opinion on the backs, they're better for backs, and Baker used them. So if Baker used them, I usually say, well, if they're good enough for Baker on a back, they're good enough for me. So we remove all this loose stuff, and now you see all these strings are holding the buttons on the inside. So we need to strip away. I want to loosen the inside back, which comes these are pulls from the inside back. for now. This is all I want to do. So we're going to loosen it so that we can gain entry into this, so that we can measure it. So we're going to take this off. Oh, that's great too. Look at this. I'm doing this by hand. I'm not even using a tool. Usually I can use the tool here, but boy, it's great to have paws that do this. If you don't, you have to take, for others who don't have big hands and muscular hands, you need to use your tools. So that what that means is, you need to use over here. You can use your pliers to pull. And if it's stubborn, you can just take your tack tool and then take it out, and then take the rest of it out with your side cutter. So I just want to show you this process here. Let's just, so once I loosen all of this, right? You can take this and tuck it up into the springs, or if you have a 6-ounce tacks, you should have 6-ounce tacks, or even your staple gun, just to temporarily hold this up, so that you can get down here. Okay, now while I'm back here, I'm going to loosen, I'm going to cut the twines for the buttons while I'm here. So the side cutters are your best bet to take out to cut twines. The twines, that's that heavy nylon twine, so it's not easy to cut, see? So what you want to do is grab both ends, pull it out, and then cut. Okay, so I want to explain something now. You really do want to clean up as much as you can the outside. You don't want any loose staples. One loose staple, one staple sticking halfway out or something, you're going to cut yourself, you're going to get blood on the fabric. You know, it's a bad thing. You really need to check. I checked 3 times, you know. So my first time, I'm just running my hand just gently along here to make sure. Now notice that we haven't stripped the back yet, and we're not going to do that until a little bit later. I'll let you know why. We'll explain that later. Okay, but right now I'm still concentrating on cleaning up my outside. I'm going to run my hand down here. Every square inch is checked for anything sticking out. You see these little guys here? You can take those out. If they don't come out, no sweat. Just put them in. See, they're not coming out. Here's some, you know, interesting little, you know, pieces that are left. So I'm going to try to. I'm just going to roll that. Now, if you're working by yourself, and a lot of us are out there. Notice how I haven't tipped this over yet. I have not tipped this over because I'm going to feel underneath here to see. I'm going to cut this off right even, and then I'm going to feel to see if there's anything bulky left. There isn't. It's nice and smooth. I got one staple halfway here. I'm just going to, with my side cutters, give it a little pull like this. You have to get used to this and develop calluses if you already haven't, if you really want to do this work. Okay, there's a staple here, for instance, that I will try to take out. That cut on me, you know. So I mean, no, a reminder: my diagonal pliers are designed to cut, but we never cut with the diagonal pliers in upholstery. We're trying to roll the staple. We're trying to grab hold of it and put a little tension on it, little as possible, and roll it. But this broke, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to sweat it. I'm just going to hammer it down, then hammer it in well. And you feel it afterwards to see. There's a little glue remnant from the factory over here that I'm even gonna knock off. See that? There's a staple up here that I missed. Okay, I'm gonna roll it. So this panel is pretty well done. Okay, so now, but what we need to do, I'm gonna do all the other panels, make sure that there's no staple sticking out. And then right now what I'm gonna do is decide, do I go in after all these crazy staples that they put in here? Like, they've got staples on top of staples here. It's going to take me a long time to strip that. And we're not even in the upholstery, the cutting of the stage, or the sewing or anything. So you really need to, if you're doing this professionally, you need to speed yourself up a little bit without jeopardizing the quality. We're not doing that. But for me, I'm making a decision here. For me to go in there and dig at that wood too, I'm going to cause more damage there than I would like. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to cut this off. In this piece, it's okay to do that in my opinion, because I think I'm going to create more damage than I am going to that I want. So I'm going to take the deck, and this is the decking on the other side. I'm just going to cut that. Right. Okay. Now that piece, there's no staple sticking out, and now that's released. I'm going to do it to the rest of it now. We do have clips that I want to show you when we turn this around for the next step, which is we're going to be taking the seat off, the next thing. So we're going to get this ready, upholstery ready. By taking the seat off, it will be upholstery ready, and then the next step will be measuring and then cutting that. Under penalty of law, do not remove this tag. Means nothing. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to come and get you because we are very proud of Baker Furniture. We are going to save the label. So I'm going to just cut around the label on the deck. That's the next step. I want to reuse that. I'm going to glue that back onto the deck later. Let's put it aside somewhere where we're not going to forget that. Okay, now the next step is to remove the clips. The clips are stapled on from the back, so I just took the staples out and I removed them. So what I'm going to do is we're going to reuse these. This one still hasn't been undone, so let me just quickly go off camera here, and I'm just going to take the staples out that are holding the elastic, and then I'm going to pull it this way. It should be free. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk to my cushion and I'm going to put them back on the cushion, okay? Should be able to clip right on there. One clip and then the other clip. That's for later. Okay, let's go back to the sofa. So what we did is we loosened up the deck. Okay, so I'm going to hope to be able to take this off cleanly so I can reuse everything that's underneath. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull and grab hold of this deck. Pull it. Coming off pretty clean. And then we're going to see how they stitch this on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this deck caught, and I'm going to just fold it back a little bit so we can get at this stitching in here that has to be clipped. I don't know if Patrick can see that, but I'm going to clip the stitching. Did you hear that? It's a nice sound. Means it's released. Okay. Clip these stitches. Listen to this sound. You hear that? That's a good sound when you're taking fabric off. Means you're doing your job. One in there. Just got a little bit more stripping to do over here with the deck. Or cutting. Well, that came out nice around there. And the other one's probably going to be tricky too to get out. We just didn't take enough out. Okay, that should pull out now. Yeah, nice. Okay, see, so the upholsterer last time, there's cuts that happen, which we're going to show you, and then they run the fabric through here and then get stapling over there to make it really tight. Crafts people at Baker really are A1 in how they. This is a real tough area for beginning upholsterers to figure out and to cut, and I'll show you that when we get to that point. But now we're stripping this off, and you know, for beginners, you may want to save. You may want to save it, although I don't encourage going by patterns. I discourage it in a lot of ways. I think that it's just good as a reference to keep. And if you know, that's kind of a tricky thing when you have patterns. You think they're easy and you cut the patterns. This is why you don't want to do it. You cut the patterns, and the fabric is actually the trimmed fabric that you're cutting on the sofa. So you're not getting anything to pull. So the benefit of 42 years of stripping furniture is I have some really good, easy ways, good ways too. Now, for instance, I haven't turned this piece over once. And right now what I'm going to do is show you, I'm going to finish up stripping up this piece. I have the seat in the deck released, and now I'm going to take this, and I'm hoping that this comes off easy by just pulling it one side. Notice how I switch sides. Did you see how I switched sides? That was too hard. Fabric does rip one side easy. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back down here, and I'm going to clean this up from the bottom. I'm not turning this over. So after I take all the loose staples, I'm going to feel to see if there's any more. I'm going to tap them back, and guess what? I didn't have to turn this piece over once. That's so important when you're working alone, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my deck fabric, deck cotton back, and this is pretty much upholstery ready. I'm going to go over this one more time with my hands before the fabric goes on. But my son asked me, who's taping, he asked me, how come you're not taking the back off yet? Well, because if I take the back off, I'm going to have cotton on cotton. And that's not a good thing. What's going to happen is your fabric's going to get mixed up in there, it's going to mesh together, and you don't want that. So what I'm going to do, the strategy moving forward, and we're almost done here, is we're going to upholster, we're going to cut our fabric, we're going to upholster the seat and deck, bring this through, and then take this off. Doesn't that make sense? Yeah. The next step is actually cutting fabric. So, actually, excuse me, the next step is measuring fabric and then cutting fabric. So I'm going to label first, I'm going to label seat, deck, inside arm, abbreviate that with IAS, inside arms, inside back, outside back, and then we're going to put cushion down here, but we're not going to, cushion and skirt down at the bottom, but we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to draw a line, I'll show you this in a minute. So this is our next step. I have everything that I need on paper that I need to cut. This is very important. I also have my directions down. If you've seen other videos, you know that I have a very simple way of measuring and then putting it on paper and then cutting. Okay, and I want to show you. This is it. I guarantee you that this will save you a lot of time and agony if you get everything on paper first before you cut. Okay? So we'll take you through this process too.